Campus PH.
In a time when light and shadow played in harmony, the Baroque style was born, an ornate and dramatic sparkle that transformed art, music, and architecture across Europe. Like a shining irregular pearl, it brought emotion and grandeur to every corner it touched. Baroque is a style of art, architecture, music, and literature that originated in Europe around in the early 17th century and lasted until the mid 18th century. The term Baroque is believed to come from the Portuguese word barroco, meaning irregular pearl or stone, which metaphorically described the highly ornate and elaborate style characteristics of the period. The theme of its paintings and sculptures are still religious. However, more of the elements of a Catholic dogma. Baroque emerged as a reaction to the simplicity and restrained forms of the Renaissance. It developed primarily in Italy around 1600s, spreading throughout Europe, particularly in countries such as France, Spain, Germany, and the Netherlands. The style was closely linked to the Catholic Church's counter-reformation against the rise of the Protestant Christians. The artworks depicting religious symbols and some mythological themes are monumental wall paintings and huge frescoes. These serve to educate the people about Catholicism. In art, Baroque is marked by dramatic use of light and shadow, which is also known as chiaroscuro, intense emotions, movement, and rich details. Baroque architecture features bold forms, large-scale ceiling frescoes, elaborate stucco work, and a strong emphasis on contrast and grandeur. For example, the Night Watch painting by Rembrandt in 1642. It is known as one of the famous Dutch Golden Age paintings. The paintings are open composition, meaning the lines, shapes, and elements make the image dynamic. Las Meninas, the Spanish for the Ladies in Waiting, by Diego Velázquez in 1656. There is a sense of movement in the picture. The eyes of the viewer moves from one area of the painting to another. Painters portray strong movement, using spirals and upward diagonals, and strong color schemes to dazzle and surprise their audience. The famous sculpture of the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa by Gian Lorenzo Bernini in 1652. The sculpture depicts a mystical vision of Saint Teresa of Avila, a Spanish Carmelite nun and Christian mystic from the 16th century. In her writings, she describes an intense spiritual experience in which an angel pierced her heart with a golden spear, filling her with divine love and both physical and spiritual ecstasy. Next is a sculpture of Apollo and Daphne by Gian Lorenzo Bernini in 1622 and 1625. The sculpture illustrates a dramatic moment from Ovid's Metamorphoses, an ancient Roman epic poem filled with stories of gods and immortals who undergo physical transformations. Here, Bernini captures the exact instant in the myth when the nymph Daphne is being transformed into a laurel tree to escape the god Apollo, who is chasing her in love and lust. In the area of architecture, Baroque buildings are highly ornamented, which creates spectacle and illusion. Churches mainly were adorned with statues to accentuate their glory. Domes and roofs were also enlarged. The best example of Italian Baroque is San Carlo Aia Quattro Fontane by Francesco Borromini. Borromini used complex geometric designs to create the shape of the building. He experimented with complex curves more than anyone else in his time. On the other hand, Gian Lorenzo Bernini is the greatest Baroque architect who designed the St. Peter's Square and St. Peter's Basilica. In music, Baroque introduced new forms like the opera, concerto, and sonata. Composers such as Johann Sebastian Bach, Claudio Monteverde, Antonio Vivaldi, and George Frederick Handel pushed musical boundaries with intricate counterpoint, expressive melodies, and ornamental techniques.
The Baroque era is known for its emotional expressiveness and complex musical structures. Historically, the Baroque period coincided with major political and religious upheavals, such as the Thirty Years' War, the rise of absolutist monarchies, and the Catholic Church's response to Protestant Reformation, which all influenced its dramatic and emotional style. By the mid 18th century, Baroque began to give way to the more restrained and balanced style of the Enlightenment and Rococo. Yet, its impact remains profound, influencing not only later art and architecture, but also modern theatrical and musical forms.